everybody. I'm Julian. That's my first name. Thank you. Quick background on myself. Although I have a pretty good English accent, I'm French. I've lived abroad since I've been 23. I'm 31, so that's 8 years. Out of these 8 years, 6.5 of them have been in Finland. 2 of them have been in the UK, in London, and the rest 6 months all over the world. I've founded my first, let's say that, no, I haven't founded my first startup. I've founded and rebooted about 5 startups since I got to university. And 2 of them were commercially set up, one in Finland, one in the UK. One failed miserably. That was the one in Finland, and I learned a lot from that. I learned that if you don't speak Finnish in Finland and you don't have an accountant that does speak Finnish, it doesn't really help. It makes things a lot different. I've learned a lot more, and we can have a beer and talk about that at some other point, maybe at ICX. The first startup that I rebooted was at my university. So before I got to university, I didn't have any of those skills that Anka mentioned on the slide. I wasn't self-confident, I didn't know how to communicate, I was really shy, I was not handsome, I'm not there yet, but I'm working on it. So I didn't really have anything for myself. The only thing I had was the fact that I was coming from the Alps, where I'm originally from, to Paris, where nobody knew me. I was completely new there. And I was in a situation where everybody was new as well. Nobody in my class knew each other. Some people were from south of France, north of France, east, west, everywhere. But we all met together because of a reason. And that reason was to study telecommunication, networks, computers, and that kind of thing. So I could be myself, really myself, who I was. It took me a couple of months, a year, to discover who I really wanted to be. But ultimately I realized that participating in the culture of the university, becoming part of the clubs, the associations, was an amazing opportunity. I joined my first association in the first year as a trainer. We had a trainer organization at university that was giving trainings to secretaries, to CEOs, to big companies about computer sciences, about Word, Excel, and that kind of stuff. And I figured out that with my understanding of the business and what I had done in the past, teaching my parents how to use a computer, I probably could teach somebody else. So I went there in that really crooked, house, because we had a separate house for all the associations. And I got to the club and I said, "Hello, I'm Julian, and I'd like to be part of the organization and support you guys and do some training." The guy was like, "Okay, all right, let's see what you got. You're gonna teach me something today." Like, "Oh, I'm not prepared for that. What do you want me to teach you?" You know what a Minitel is? Do you know what a Minitel is? It's the predecessor of the internet. It's that box where you had a phone and you had to dial a code, and then you would have a screen with text lines. So that was the beginning of the internet in France. My grandparents had one. I had been playing on it once in a while, especially for a bit erotic stuff. That was a big thing. And one of the richest person in France has started his career from selling like kind of erotic services on the Minitel. And now he owns one of the biggest network operator in France. So just to say that everything starts from porn. The same way as the VHS versus Betamax, the 2 different standards of videotapes. Same way as DVD, the same way as Blu-ray, the same way as the internet. Everything starts from porn. But ICX is a different thing. So when he told me that, I was like, "Oh, God, how am I going to do that? I don't know how to do that. I've used it, but how the hell am I going to do it?" And I had 5 minutes to prepare. So when you guys were asking earlier, how do I make a cold call? Well, I was in the same situation, except that I had to succeed. I couldn't just pick up the phone and call another company. So I gave a presentation of the Minitel. I thought that I was crap. And at the end, he was like, "All right, here's the training material. Go ahead, read that, and we'll find you a gig in the next 2 weeks." What? Yeah, you've done a great job. Great job compared to what? Well, compared to the other guys. It's like, oh, it's not only about me and how well I can perform for myself. It's about how I do compared to others. That was a pretty good moment. So then I just went on, and worked in one of the bootstrap, or restarted the electronic association of the university. Then I went on to support the international students, then a couple of other things, and ultimately I moved to Finland. And when I moved to Finland, that's when I started my own company. After having spent a lot of time with international students, having participated in a lot of activities with the international tutors at Tampere University of Technology, I decided that, hey, I'm doing extreme sports, why not importing extreme sports equipment to Finland? It seems to be fairly easy to set up a company, it's about 50 euros, and then you can get going. Well, it was a bit more complicated. But it kind of worked. It paid for my own equipment, and I learned something, and I networked with a lot of people in the industry, European-wise, world-wise, and in Finland, and it was a great experience. But then another startup that I founded was, is anybody from Tampere here?
We couldn't get the Tampere people, sorry.
Yeah, they're in the middle of Finland, they don't really want to move anywhere else. They like people to come to them. So there's an international organization called INTO at Tampere University of Technology. And that international student organization is now part of the ESN network. It's one of the major associations in the Tampere region. And I founded that with a friend of mine. Both of us were kind of tired of the fact that the tutors had to always pay for themselves and pay for the things and get the money back, and that there was no continuity, that there was nothing really going on. So we built a structure within the university that would enable international students and Finnish students to connect with each other, organize events, organize cultural opportunities, but still have something around them that would give them that opportunity. Not just every year some new people coming in and who has money and who does what and how is it going to work. So something that was more structured. It became, on the first 6 months, the biggest student club at Tampere University of Technology. And the reason is simple. Because you have a lot of international students, and they all wanted to network. They all wanted to discover new things. So they joined the club. And then Finnish students joined the club. So we got, I think maximum amount was probably 1,000 people part of the club. And a team of 10, 15 people managing that, and organizing events, organizing cultural things, and supporting international students to come, getting them from the bus station, from these kind of places to their home, and all that kind of stuff. Doesn't that sound a bit familiar to another large organization in Finland? Which is called, what is it called? Can you hear that louder? ICX. Yes. And then I joined ICX. So, as I was explaining to a couple of guys, I've learned a lot in these kind of things. And I consider any single organization or small companies that I built a startup. Because you always start from something. You start from something small. You start from an idea. ICX LCs are startups that are restarted and rebooted every year. Every time there's a new LCP, it's like everybody's gone, you end up with 5 people, and you've got to rebuild the team, rebuild everything from scratch. I mean, you've had to do that in all, right? Go from 6 people to what, 25 now? 30 or 30? So every LCP is a startup owner. The only thing that he doesn't own is shares in the company. And he doesn't necessarily make money. But he learns a lot. He develops himself, and he gets to a situation where he can monetize these learnings for his own career. So startups are like that. You start from a small idea, a small thing, and then you develop, right? And you grow around that idea, and you grab more people in. The only challenge is that you don't necessarily have a lot of money. The same as ICX, the same as any student organization. So what you're trying to do is to bootstrap. Bootstrapping is, I got a bit of cash in my pocket, probably 500, 1,000. That might be enough to set up the company and get all these kind of things. But then we're going to work hard in order to get our first client, so that we can get more money to get to the next client, and you build it like that. That's one of the options. The other option is to look for capital, in which you're going to go to investors, your mom, your dad, your grandparents. That can be the first one, or your friends. It's called the family and friends round, where you're going to ask them, okay, if you give me 10 grand, I'll give you 5% of the company. And it shows that you can build that capital. So you might get 20,000 euros, 50,000 euros out of that, but that's going to be enough to pay the bills for the first couple of months. But then you get to the seed funding, where you go to angels, business angels that they've made their money in the past, they saved money,